I didn't look at anyone else. And typically, a lot of the times, like when I see the person, I know, and I don't even have to see them act. I just know that that's why casting's so important. You just know they're the part.
Back today with Sam Fox and Vincent Stalba. Sam is a writer-director of a short film we've just recently reviewed called Fck'n Nuts, and Vincent Stalba is the main actor. We talked to them about horror, creating a good crew, and all the elements that come together for a successful short film. Enjoy. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing well.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, this is my co-host, Madison. Welcome to the Indie Magazine podcast. For everyone listening, can you introduce yourselves by stating your name as well as your current role in entertainment?
Hi, my name is Sam Fox, and I am a writer, director, reformed producer in indie genre horror films.
Hi, I'm Vincent Stalba. I'm an actor, producer, and beginning to start publicity.
Many hats when you're doing indie film, right?
Yes.
Too many. That's why I said reformed producer.
There you go.
I'm trying to take some of those hats off because I want to live past 60.
That's a good goal.
Yeah.
That's a good goal. And how did you two first meet? How did you first come in contact?
Vince, you go for it.
We had short films that screened at a lot of similar film festivals. I had watched Sam's short film Bad Acid while I was in a short called The Blood of the Dinosaurs from Joe Badon, and we just crossed paths, and we all knew we wanted to work with each other. We got coffee in Santa Monica during AFM, and we all hit it off, and rest is history.
And I'll add to that because Blood of the Dinosaurs and Bad Acid probably played either at the same festival or in the same block, maybe 5 times at least that I attended. And so I'd become quite familiar with the film and noticed more every single time. But every single time I watched it, I loved it. And I loved Vince's performance. Anyone that can play like charmingly unhinged so well is perfect for a Foxy Films. So when we did, Vince reached out, and once we began talking, and I decided that I wanted to team up with Joe and go to New Orleans to make Fck'n Nuts. Instantly, I was like, I need Vincent to be the lead actor in it. And it was perfect because he was familiar with the whole team. So he could also be a liaison to help a lot of that happen.
That's awesome. Cast at first sight, or not first sight, but first film festival tour.
I pretty much almost always meet people at film festivals and cast them from there. I'm not really a big fan of auditioning unless in feature films, it'll be different because there'll be lots of roles, but I always see the person that's perfect for the part.
Yeah, that definitely speaks to the importance of film festivals. I think for a lot of people starting out or different people we've interviewed, the question is like, do film festivals matter? Is it worth the submission rate? Is it worth it to fly to these places? Or do you just put it on Vimeo or YouTube? But it sounds like what you're saying here is seeing things, especially repeat seeing things, is a casting call, right?
For me, every opportunity that I've had came from attending film festivals, not just having my film selected in them, but it's the same with a musician that tours their record or a writer that tours their book. If you have your work there and you're not representing it, and fortunately, I am able to put touring as a very important part of my job because I do want to not only make more films, but I want to make features. But yeah, if you're not there to give like the face-to-face value of it, opportunities just pass you by. But when you go to the festival and you support the other filmmakers and you meet people, it's also just being part of the community and the genre community. The beauty of it is we all want to help each other succeed and we all want to come up together. I haven't seen that like competition-free artistry in almost any other realms other than horror filmmakers. And it's beautiful. If you can do it, like there's no reason why you shouldn't. And the benefits are absolutely incredible, especially in my case.
I have to second that because I've experienced that firsthand with Blood of the Dinosaurs. When we got into Fantasia, I met an awesome director, Izzy Lee, She was getting ready for her first feature. We hit it off, we stayed in touch, and then she wrote the lead part in her first feature for me. And Sam makes a great point about community. The horror genre and film festivals, everybody wants to work with each other. Everyone is so giving. There is wonderful community. And I haven't been able to find that anywhere else.
I have a question about that. Horror as a genre is it's so distinct. And we'll probably get into this later. But something that Tristan and I are both agreed on is that when our taste in movies doesn't really include like a great deal of horror. And yet the horror genre is so distinctive. And we've talked to a number of people who work in the genre of horror. And honestly, it attracts very great people. And the juxtaposition between the people that create horror and the horror itself it's pretty stark. Explain what is the appeal of horror that brought you into it?
I was like, my favorite movie when I was 5 was Rosemary's Baby, so I didn't really stand a chance. It couldn't have happened any other way. So I did not choose this life, it chose me. But yeah, I had a sister who was 8 years older. I was born in 88. It was the height of body horror and practical effects. And I think we grew up on this kind of farm where there was no one really around, not even our parents. And so she just got me, like anything that she was into, I was obsessed with because she was the coolest person in the world. And so from a very early age, I'm just like, oh yeah, people like getting their guts ripped out from their mouth. Cool. But to a point, that's what it is. I was telling a friend the other day, I have the best job in the world. I get to go to this artist's warehouse and look at different fabrics that he's making me tentacles from. It's like being a child again. I'm writing a movie now about aliens. I get to create these worlds. It allows for so much depth and imagination, and there are no rules. So you can really go wild. You get to play with blood and guts and weird sci-fi sets. So I guess part of it is it's so freaking fun, but also it's just exciting in every way. And I think like a lot of the elevated horror that they're making right now, like you can make on an indie budget. It does, thank God it is doing really well, but also it's bringing some of the most cool original stories out there because we constantly have to be thinking on our toes, on our feet, because our scene independent film is dying and we need fresh, new, amazing ideas and content. And the horror directors are the ones that I feel like are really bringing those stories to life. So I'm just happy that I'm around for this resurgence.
It's really the easiest entry point if you want to get into the industry. I was just at Holly Shorts with another film. Every panel and every panelist said, make horror films because there's a low cost of entry. You don't need A-listers. Because when you're making these indie films to get a minimum guarantee or get any sort of money, you need a name. And if you're working with $50,000 or $100,000, you can't get a name. So you can't get minimum guarantees. So you have to be a little more creative. So there's just so much more creativity with horror comedy, supernatural horror. It's just an easier entry point, I think.
And it definitely proves, looking at all the big directors right now who have started in horror or are still doing horror, it is impressive the shift, at least to me in the last 10 years of, oh, this is not just funny popcorn movie. It is an art form. It's a chance for expression. I think of the guy, the director of Shazam. I can't remember his name right now, but he began with horror. And just to see him go from, $1 million budget movies to 40 to 80 to 100, it's impressive to show. If you know how to do blood, guts, and have a good story at $1 million, then they can trust you with something a little bigger, which is promising.
Look at Longlegs. That's like a blockbuster like hit, lower budget. And I think it's about to hit $100 million.
Pretty impressive. So you're in the right genre. Where did the idea for Fck'n Nuts come from, and what was the genesis and I guess timeline of first idea to taking it to shoot to finishing the edit?
A long timeline, much longer than I'm used to. I turn around stuff pretty dang quick just because A, I'm impatient, and B, I'm a workaholic. But yeah, this was the first thing I ever wrote. I started as a painter and then finally realized that I didn't think that had a career for me when I was about 18. I decided I was not going to college because I was an artist and school wasn't right for me. So then I knew the film business. I grew up in Los Angeles, so I knew the film business was always something that combined that artistry, but I didn't really know anything about it. I sadly have no nepotism, but yeah, I started acting and really loved that form of art and storytelling, but it just, my attitude, I'm not right for it. And then started producing. And the reason I'm reformed is because it's such a difficult, thankless job. God bless all the producers out there because they really don't get the credit they deserve for making shit happen. And found my way into directing. And that's where I was like, oh, this is my purpose on this planet. So I had to learn how to write. I'm still learning. I have a lot of ideas, but the formation of them has always been hard. A lot of my ideas are completely stupid. And that's why when I wrote Fck'n Nuts, it is completely stupid. That's why people love it. I was like, I can't make this. This is not only could I, like, not that I can't make it, but I'm like, no, I can't put my money into this. I can't put anyone else's money into this. And so it sat for a long time, and slowly going to film festivals with other films, I would meet these filmmakers that I would see midnight movies at these genre fests, and I'd be like, oh, wait, all these ideas are absolutely ridiculous and they work. You just have to be committed to them. And I would also meet filmmakers who told me that exact same thing. No story is stupid if you're fully committed. And then I kept watching more and more movies, and I'm like, yeah, that rings true. And so I did a little rewrite. It had been like 8 years later. And when I had seen Blood of the Dinosaurs and was talking to Joe, I was just like, I want to make something with you. I love the way that you bring this DIY community of New Orleans together, because in Los Angeles, you really feel like if you have no money, you don't really have many options to have the big set design that I like to have or the practical effects, because every quote you get is for $5,000. But I knew that Joe could do stuff that was really cool and looked amazing on a budget. And when I was trying to think of what I wanted to bring him, I was like, Fck'n Nuts. It's perfect. It's perfect for him because he also likes really stupid ideas. And literally, as soon as I decided that was the film, what, Vince? It was like 6 months later, we were there making the film. And then 6 weeks later, the post was done and we were touring it. It's, for me, once I say, okay, let's do it, it's a very fast turnaround. Because, yeah, I like to go get them.
That's impressive. And the Joe you're referring to is the producer, right?
Yeah.
Joe Badon. Okay, I want to make sure I got the name right. Joe Badon. And so when you turn something around that quickly after having years and years of an idea, how quickly are you finding actors, cinematographer? Is it again just pulling from the community you've already been talking to and it's 2 months turnaround, or is it something a little more drawn out?
Now I have this big, because of going to the film festivals, I have a big list of all departments, especially now that I'm getting into features, what's making lists of HOD heads. And I was so lucky with Vince and Joe because I wasn't going to be filming in Los Angeles. I was going to New Orleans. So I brought, instantly, I knew that Vince was Dan, and then we needed our lead actress. And I knew that Joe was going to bring me his DP that he works with all the time, Daniel Waghorn, who also did Blood of the Dinosaurs, who's just incredible and such an asset to have in any production and has a wonderfully beautiful eye. And I wanted to bring Desiree Staples, who's a producer and actress I work with all the time and a best friend, just because I knew she'd be my support. I can fall apart when I'm directing. And Tom Leduc, who's my lighting designer, who luckily DP's always let me bring him in because he's the loveliest person in the world and super cool. He's French, but he also, I don't need to tell him what I want. And now he can communicate to DP's kind of, this is how I like to do my lighting. And it's just been super helpful. And so that was the crew that we brought, and basically did a co-production using a lot of almost all of Joe's New Orleans people. And Vince is so wonderful at just knowing who's happening, what's happening. And when I told him, how am I supposed to cast someone in New Orleans? The girl that I'd originally wrote the story for, she's on The Boys offshoot in Toronto filming.
Oh, wow.
And Vince put me together a list of New Orleans actresses, and Maddie Nichols was one of the people I probably had on the top of the list. I said, I want a girl who has arrested development, looks like a little girl, and has these deer in the headlights eyes and that can convey so much emotion. And I watched her reel and I was just like, I didn't look at anyone else. And typically, a lot of the times, like when I see the person, I know, and I don't even have to see them act. I just know that that's why casting's so important. You just know they're the part.
Yeah, it just seems like it really lined up as soon as you saw her, and she was perfect in the role.
Yeah, I
Uh-huh.
think when you do your due diligence and your homework, and as a director, when you're putting your team together, you really you know what you do really well, and you know all the other things that you don't do very well, but you know what you want. For me, I've always just found really strong teams that all excel at their different departments because I really know what I want, and I just trust those people to help bring the vision to life. And I just think that's like the best way to do it is just find people that love the same stuff as you and are excited to do it.
And that probably makes 10 to 12-hour days on set a little more bearable, right?
Oh my God, we have so much fun.
There you
we
go.
we always have the best time ever. Yeah. It's always a joy. Sometimes I'm falling apart at the seams, but it's always a joy.
That's great. And Vincent, on your end, as an actor who has 30 plus credits, I saw on IMDb, probably a lot more you've worked on uncredited there. When you get a script or when you're deciding between projects or opportunities, what sticks out to you? Is it the director and the crew attached? Is it the script and something you've never seen before? Or sometimes is it just another job to pick? What does that process look like for you?
The script, of course, is king. It is the most important, but also who is behind it, who is the team. I'd already watched Sam's film Bad Acid, and I was like, I don't know what you're doing next, but I want to work with you. I love
That's
the color
awesome.
palettes that you use, the choreography. She just paints a beautiful vision and makes art on camera and film. It reminded me of like oddball Wes Anderson, and I'm like, I'm in. I don't know. I don't care what it is, but I want to be involved. What was great with Sam was we had a chance to, over coffee, talk about the script and the character. We'd emailed back and forth of who's the type, what kind of type of person is Dan. We landed on Nicolas Cage in Valley Girl, just out there, wild, very lovable, and very big. With Blood of the Dinosaurs and a lot of my other work, it's very kind of stoic and precise, terrifying, but just there's a lot of horror and demons behind the eyes. So this was much more big. It reminded me of theater, so I got to play, which was great.
So I was just going to say, Vince, that when I was watching it, I wasn't really sure who I was supposed to be more afraid of. Because it was like, I feel like this Dan guy could crack at any moment. And there's something underneath that's going on. Because clearly there's like an overstory, but Dan's got something else going on. And I wanted to ask, what were some of the creative influences on Fck'n Nuts? Because I think it was just a joy to watch. And everything from pushing the puke off of the step with the hand and then sitting right down in it to the comically large EpiPen. There was just like some great attention to details that I just was like, oh, this is so nice. This is so great to watch. So what were some of the creative influences, the character of the film?
I'm going to let Sam answer this, but during that coffee meeting, Sam was like, okay, I'm really trying to figure out this. I want Sandy to puke, and then I don't know what we do, but then you're with her again. And I'm like, I don't know. It was maybe caffeine induced, or I don't know, but I was just like, I should just wipe it off. I'm so in love with her. It doesn't matter what's happening or going on. It's just me and her 100%. And Sam was like, I love it. That's in the film.
Amazing.
And that's when I was like, this Dan guy is unhinged.
But I think that was a part of the character, and it's Fck'n Nuts. Is she crazy because there's X's out on other names of her past boyfriend? Am I crazy because I have that like wild unhinged look? Are the parents crazy? Who are the neighbors crazy? What's up with that squirrel? I think it's supposed to throw you a little bit, I think, but Sam.
Everyone's crazy. Welcome to planet Earth. We're all absolutely insane. But yeah, that's what I loved about working with Vincent. Anything that's just dedication to the character and getting the character across. Most of the time, I will always say yes or try and find a creative way to convey. If it doesn't, sometimes Vince actually, there's a few times where he came up with great ideas, and I'm like, just because I know how it's going to look edited, I had to turn them down. But let's try and figure out a way to do it so that we can both be happy. Because I'm so excited by any part of the team that's excited. I don't want people to feel like they're all there trying to give me what I want. I want what we all want. I like to run a democracy. But yeah, so as far as creative, so much is just inspired by my life, like the squirrels. I was just trying to create some foreshadowing, and I live in a part of Marina Del Rey where there's insane squirrels all the time that like try and attack me, chase my dog, come in my house. And so I thought like good storytelling would be to have those crazy ass squirrels. And also in the intro, we didn't have the money to make them look good. So let's kind of tell everyone right at the beginning of the film, this is what you're in for. Suspend your your belief. The title on the pillow, I think I dedicated 2 weeks driving around LA looking for the perfect pillow to, and then the perfect writing to put Fck'n Nuts on there. And I ended up finding it on Amazon, but I literally drove to every single Goodwill in Los Angeles. The giant EpiPen, again, I want people to know there's nothing I can't stand more than someone doing something, a film where it's very hyper realistic, but there's elements that are so unbelievable because then I'm confused. I'm like, am I watching something that's supposed to be like a fantasy, or are you just not very good at writing your script? So I like to just put in little things that just hint at this is a fake world that we're living in. Like this world is upside down. And I just thought extra large EpiPen. Also, it is offensive, making fun of allergies, but I just needed the highest stakes possible. And let's face it, like people do way worse things in film. I've never shown violence towards women or children yet. But yeah, again, to just try and show I've made these decisions to say, this isn't serious. Don't take it seriously. This is fun. And I like to always find any detail in the filmmaking process that I can to support the story. And that's where the attention to detail comes in.
I guess following up with that and you talking about democracy on set, I know I mentioned the article, but the first person point of view shots were fantastic, and we don't see that a ton. Where did that come from, and how many of those creative decisions were from you or from the cinematographer or producers or things like that?
That's the films I grew up with, the 80s horror, the serial killer POV, Halloween. Because I'm not really a writer in the traditional sense, I see in pictures. It also comes from the painting background. So a lot of the times I know like before I even had a story of the film, I saw the shot of Sandy upside down on the bed with the sunglasses were mine. And so I just saw this girl with white sunglasses in all pink, and she's upside down, and we have this 180-degree spinning shot overhead showing like her world getting flipped, turned on its head. And what was really nice is and with pretty much, I think everything I've done is finding these DPs who are so incredibly collaborative and take these ideas that I either send them still frames of from other films, or I try and draw them little pictures or send them unhinged video messages of me. They have the knowledge to say, okay, what about this? And Daniel, when I told him about that spinning shot, like 2 days later, he had built a rig and said, oh, you want something like this? And built a rig just at his house, put the camera on there, did a picture of the shot and sent it to me. And yeah, it's finding passionate filmmakers who just are excited to make cool stuff. That's really what it comes down to, and collaborating with them.
And I guess building off of that, what are you both interested in making in the future? Is there a certain type of the genre or a scope of a film, more shorts or something longer, a TV show? What's next on your list for both of you that really excites you and you say, oh, in 5 years I will have done this?
Okay. Now that I'm transitioning into, and I will make as many shorts as possible if people fund them for me, but I am transitioning into features because I've got to make a career out of this. I need to make some money. And also that's just, shorts are so much fun, but I really would like to get the chance to build out characters and story and have some time, even though you never have enough time. But I've got 3 scripts right now that I'm all like, are all just my dream come true. One of them, which just came to me, I didn't write. It's called Vicky's Big Break. This is the one that will probably go first. It's a horror with a musical number, but I'm calling it a horror musical because my dream was to do a horror musical. I always said to people I want to do like an All That Jazz meets Brazil meets Suspiria about mental illness. And I was actually going to use Fck'n Nuts as like the proof of concept for a feature version of that. And then this script just showed up. Some people mentioned my name to these writers and these producers who are looking for a director. And it's been absolutely kismet and perfect. And so we're raising money for that. And I get to have so much fun because it's really outlandish. And then with my writing partner, Natalia Pizarro, who is my goth princess, we wrote a real kind of a dark satanic horror art film about a painter who gets indoctrinated into this cult of Dionysian artists. That's going to be much darker because I do really like living in straight horror with not as much comedy. And then Blue Diamond, which is the last short I just made with Desiree Staples and Gina Krisht, which is going to be touring next week. We premiere next week in Paris. Me and John Vernon, the co-writer, are writing the feature version of that. And that's going to be a little bit more 80s sci-fi horror comedy.
Wow, sci-fi horror, darker horror musical. Okay, so everywhere.
Always horror.
Everywhere.
Always, I have to.
Yeah.
I like killing people too much.
How about you, Vincent?
I finally found my niche in horror and the bizarre. So I want to really embrace that. I worked a lot in Florida and New Orleans on TV shows and was just on the Vince Staples show on Netflix and Lessons in Chemistry on Apple TV Plus. Doing horror and going to film festivals, that has always, I found my niche. Because of going to film festivals, I worked on 2 features this year. Izzy Lee's House of Ashes. We just got our premiere in New York. I'm not allowed to say where it is. She'll kill me. And then the production designer on Fck'n Nuts, she just made her first feature called The Cramps, a period piece. We just shot that in Louisiana on film. Kodak gave us free film, which is amazing. And I produced another short called I Could Dom. It's a comedy for people pleasers, but I want to keep embracing horror. Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson are heroes of mine. Amanda Kramer, Mickey Reese. Yeah, hopefully working with them one day.
That's great. Yeah. Things in the works, things you've just completed, things coming out soon. Anyone in New York listening, keep an eye out for that film when it's released. That's exciting. As far as what you guys are doing outside of your own work, what are some movies you've recently watched or gone back to that you love or that you've seen in theaters or through streaming that you really liked?
Again, I give it up for Longlegs. He really did it, creating a world, creating an intense story, having phenomenal acting. I really was super excited about that film and then saw it and I really loved it and I really want to watch it again. There's quite a few horror films that are coming out right now. The Substance is a film that a few people have said that my work reminds that it seems very similar. So I'm very excited about seeing that, hopefully on the festival trail or getting a theatrical release. I actually watched 2 nights ago, I watched Terminator 2 again, just because sometimes I can't watch a film without just tearing every little piece apart and dissecting, and either I hate it or I think it's the most wonderful thing that's ever been done. And it makes me feel incredibly sad about what I do. And just watching Terminator 2, it was just pure enjoyment. I even fell asleep for an hour of it and woke up and got excited. So yeah, I'm trying to think of what else. I know there's been a ton. I watched Birth, Rebirth recently. A lot of the Shudder originals I've been really liking, or their acquisitions. Yeah, there's some really cool indie films being made right now.
Have you watched Late Night with the Devil yet?
Oh, I love Late Night with the Devil. I love
so
Dan
good.
Rascallion. I'm dying to work with him.
Yeah.
If you're listening, I want you for that satanic art horror film.
You heard it here first. What about you, Vincent?
Yeah, Late Night with the Devil was good. I just went back and watched The Love Witch again. I'm not sure if you've watched that. Killer, a USC director. She raised $1 million and shot this Technicolor, witchy 60s horror film that is killer. So good, so well made. The production design's amazing. Another film festival gem was All Jacked Up and Full of Worms. I don't know if you've watched that. That was really unique, shot for $100,000 roughly in Chicago. I'm liking a lot of the like hidden gems that have come out, like Hundreds of Beavers, just like people that have built it themselves and now are doing all the marketing and publicity and getting distribution. Those like success stories that I really love.
And those must be good keystones or, like you're saying, good examples for what you guys are working on doing right now.
Yeah, I've been trying to watch. I got into my whole life. I've had a phase of I only watch old films, like new films are terrible. And I realized that doesn't do me a service, especially when producers are pitching to me heads of department or talent and I haven't seen anything that they've done. So I've gotten really into trying to watch as much of the smaller budget, mid-budget films, also for inspiration and just to see what people are buying and people are making. And I've been really impressed with a lot of it. It's an exciting time. I think that the strikes and everything have been terrible, but I just feel like we're leading back into that kind of age of when the studios started being torn down in the 70s. Independent filmmaking was at its height. So I'm down for that. But this is the thing, is that we need to have, it's that knocking on doors grassroots thing of these films get made not by big production companies and distribution companies. They get made by our peers, angel investors, just people talking about it and supporting each other. So it's hard, but enough people are doing it.
Yeah, and I guess to that point, I'm glad you guys came on the podcast today and even reached out to us and sent us the short film. I'm not even sure how we first got in contact, but it was funny that as I looked at the film and then clicked on IMDb, I was like, wait a sec, I've met this person at a party. I know them. I know this writer. So I know Heidi, I forget her last name, Heidi Weitzer, who did My Divorce Party. Met her at a Christmas party with one of our friends from Paul Feig's company. And I was like, oh, you worked with her.
That.
Yep. So it's a small world once you see, oh, everyone who's working in these areas are going to work together at some point within genres or even outside genres.
Absolutely. We all help each other out. It's the beauty of it. It's also the sad thing about being an artist is that they love to watch our and use our art, but we don't really get support financially from, especially in America, government assistance or arts programs.
Definitely. And I think, like you're saying, it's interesting to watch people and really put in the time to learn who's doing it right now and then see where they go through the year. And for everyone listening, if you're not going to film festivals as an attendee, please go see the films like Fck'n Nuts and really put in the time to get to know this kind of work.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Before we go today, we are going to quickly wrap up and talk about what we have on our calendar for the rest of the month. So next week, we're looking at another episode from our Militainment series, in which we look at Pearl Harbor and Black Hawk Down. Then the following Wednesday, we're looking at another 31 Days of Halloween with Cole Wissinger. The next week, we are looking at our final episode from the Militainment series with Iron Man, Captain America, and Captain Marvel. We're going to wrap up that series there. We've got another 31 Days of Halloween with Cole on that Wednesday. Then we're starting our Catholic watch-along series, Papal Ponderings, leading up to the release of the new movie Conclave. We're going to start with an introduction to kind of talk about the series, what our criteria is before we dig into some of those shows and movies. After another episode with Cole on 31 Days of Halloween, we then move on to the first episode of the Papal Pondering series with Two Popes from 2019, Spotlight in 2016, and Doubt in 2008, one of my personal favorites. We have another and final episode from Cole with his 31 Days of Halloween, and we wrap up the month on Halloween Day with an interview with old friend of mine, Linda Palmer, an indie director, producer, writer who has done a lot in the horror space and loves Halloween. So we get to talk to her about her favorite holiday, how she likes to celebrate, and how that's influenced her in a newly released docuseries as well as short films and feature films. We hope you enjoy. We hope you share this podcast with friends and family, anyone who loves movies, who is interested in filmmaking, or just who wants to learn from those in the filmmaking and entertainment space. Until then, watch good movies and TV.